Hello everybody, my name is Anthony and today we are going to make a plugin for WordPress, and we're going to use MVC style of coding, so it's model view control, and the goal will be threefold. So the first is, so we're going to go over the anatomy of a plugin, of course, but if your goal is to be able to modify the WP options from within a plugin, then this video is for you. If you would like to be able to create a page programmatically in a plugin, this page is for you, and you can put whatever content you'd like within that page programmatically. And then finally, using shortcodes within plugins. If you've ever used a plugin that has bracket and then something bracket within a page, and then that bracket, something bracket does something for you that is called shortcode, then that is what we're going to be teaching you as well. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm actually going to show you a little bit more of a complex plugin that I'm working on that can give you an idea of the possibilities here. And so this, what you're looking at, is it's the Hestia theme. There's no menu. There's, basic title. As soon as you install it, it's out of the box. And if I go to the plugins, I've got a plugin here called Pro Management. If I activate this plugin, what it does is creates a bunch of tables. It pulls folders, photos, and does a lot of stuff. Populates dummy data. And then after it's done, I can refresh the screen, and you'll be able to see what this plugin does. So right there, that is a plugin. It is just literally taking a brand new installation of a theme and putting a plugin on top of it, and then making all of these changes with the plugin without me having to go in and do any of it behind the scenes. It's already done. Now, second thing, talking about MVC, right? So model view control it allows the ability to reuse code. So I've got this dashboard, which was created in code with the plugin. But if I go to the different tabs, you can see I've got some dummy data here I'm dumping out. But if I go to listings, I'm still at dashboard, and I'm saying where view equals listings. So I've got a controller that's going through and figuring out what is our query string and presenting the page based upon that query string. Same thing for, say, maintenance. I can do the same thing. So where view equals maintenance, where view equals applications, and it allows me to reuse everything around the outside, and I'm only changing what's in the middle here. So that's really the purpose of MVC, and I figured I was taking a class for it at school, so why not just do a little tutorial in my free time. So let's get back to the presentation here, and we are at this slide. So let's go over the anatomy really quick. So the first thing is your plugin root folder. You want to have right here, we're calling Brunstar read email, right on the upper right hand side. So this will be the main folder that you're going to drag and drop into your plugins folder on your WordPress, and there will be an entry point file. This one is read_email.php. Under every single plugin you find, you will find a main file underneath it that's typically got the same or similar name as the actual folder itself. Also within that folder is our constants file. So any constants we want to use in our plugin, we're going to put right there. Now, we created an includes folder. This is very common. If you go to any plugin, chances are, not in every one, but chances are you will find an includes folder. And within that, you'll find some class files. Now, every plugin is built different because every developer works differently, but this is how I'm doing it today. So because I'm using MVC, I've got controllers, models, views, and then you'll also notice that I've prefixed a lot of these with RE. The reason why is because that is the prefix of read email, RE, and I don't want it to clash with any other plugins I may have installed. So there may be another plugin out there with a main page. So if I just called it main page, that could be a problem. So we're prefixing it with RE. This is the workflow that we're going to go through. So it looks kind of crazy, and it kind of is, but at the end of the day, it makes sense because what you're doing is you're essentially separating out your view from your model, which is your database objects or whatever you want to pull to display to the user, and then your controller, which is what decides what's going to be displayed for the user. So the plugin entry point file will call this constants file and allow you to use the constants later. Then it'll go to this class, main class, and then this main class will, this model and controller, it will instantiate a model and a controller, and then it'll use that and present that to the view for the user. And that's basically how this works. And then the user will do something, and then the user will send a request back to the server, and then it'll go back to the entry point again. And that is essentially how this workflow works. So now to get to the code, the entry point file, if you recall, that's the top left one that was the first one we talked about, is going to always execute every time the plugin runs. You want to make sure that you have this top portion filled out. All right, so pause the video, type this into your computer, and it should be pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to go into the details of how that works, but just make sure that that's there. The next is on line 18, if not defined, abs path exit. Then this is pretty straightforward too. It says exit if accessed directly. So if I type in the browser this file, then get me out of here, because it's not supposed to happen that way. It's supposed to go through WordPress. Below that, we've got our constants file that we're going to populate here in a minute that we are requiring. And then below that, we are going to instantiate our read email class and then go only if we are not under the WP admin folder. All right, so or URL, I should say. And that is only for this particular plugin. This is not required. I'm only doing this because I don't want to have my plugin call do a bunch of stuff if I'm under WP admin. But if you do, and your plugin may say manipulate WP admin or hook something in there, you may want to have you may want to get rid of this portion. The constants file has 6 variables right now, 6 constants. So make sure you type that in, pause the video. I'm not going to go into the details of it other than just pay attention to how we are using the paths here. We've got our includes. Yeah, pretty straightforward. All right, the read email file. So I'm going to go a little bit more detailed here because, again, our goal is, number one, not only to make this plugin, but to make this plugin make a page for us, change some WordPress options, and do the shortcode. All of that's happening here. So same thing at the top. If abs path is not defined, get us out of here. Here's our class, read email, and our constructor. Once we construct this thing, we're going to call includes and init hooks, which is here, includes and init hooks. The for each loop here is going to take any models we have. So if I have 10 models in the folder, it's going to require all of them. Now, best coding practice, not so much, but I just want to show you that it's possible to use a loop to require files if you like. This isn't that great because if you accidentally drop a file out there, or if somebody does, it can break your whole site. But again, it's just showing possibilities, and there may be a need to loop through files at some point in the future for you. All right, so next is the init hooks. We're just registering our different plugin hooks, activate, deactivate, and uninstall. We need all of those. Here we're saying array this, comma, and then the method name. All right, so we're using an array here because this is read email, and it's being called in a class. All right, so if we weren't calling this in a class, we could just say re_activate if it was just a function call. But because it's a method within a class, you need to have this whole thing here. So don't get confused on this because it can be tricky. Go, if you recall, on the previous file, we said instantiate the read email and then go. This is what go is doing. Go is adding shortcode re-tac main_page, and then whenever it encounters this in brackets on a page, it's going to call this function here, this method. All right, same thing, it's an array because it's in a class. And then if you look down below under reactivate, whenever this plugin is activated, it's going to create a page with this re-tac main_page in the body of the page. This is literally just the body of the page. And yeah, so up 2 lines. All right, update option. This was another goal of ours today. We'd like to be able to update the WordPress options from within a plugin. So within the activate, change the blog name to read email. Change the blog description to a plugin to read emails. And then again, this page that we're going to create, we're going to populate it with whatever we want. In this case, it is the shortcode. All right, so this is the bottom half of the same file. All right, so this is the actual method create page. So pause the video, type this in, and you don't need to change any of it. All you need to know is that variable 1 or parameter 1 is the title, parameter 2 is the body. That's all you need to know here. Pretty easy. Next thing is the shortcode function. So every time your site encounters the shortcode, which we already declared here, read-tech main_page, it is going to say this is the shortcode, this is the method, so call this method and run this code. So we're requiring the view and the controller. We've already required the model up above. So instantiate model controller. Now we're going to run a method in the controller that I will explain here in a second, but just type this in as you see it, and then create your view and then return your view. So this here, if this is really fast, right? So this was basically what we went over at the beginning and when we went through that workflow. This is that busy part of the workflow, all right? Ultimately, we return the view to the user. This is the main page model. So this would be where database interaction would happen. So in this case, we're not using a database. We are just returning to string. And you can see that I'm setting this message to hello world from the main page model. We're not going to see this, and I'm doing this on purpose because you can see I can change it in the controller after I construct it. So I've got my set data and my get data where I'm going to return the message, and I'm going to set the message. In the main page view, this is what the user will see. So when you construct it, remember we sent in the model controller, and then we set the model controller in this class down below. We're going to return whatever we want. So in this case, we're returning the data from the model. This is HTML, all right? So here you would return divs, a tags, forms, whatever you want. But this is what's going to return inside of the page for the person to see, for the user to see. This is the controller. Now in this controller, remember we called this main page method a couple pages back. When we call the method, it's setting the data in the model to this was set in the controller. So remember the default that we set back here is going to change now to this was set in the controller. So that's all we should see, and we're going to make this work now. So let's go ahead and go to our live. So under your WordPress installation, I've got WP content, plugins. I'm going to take my entire folder and I'm going to drop it there. Now that's going to move it out here so that if I look at this, you can see that my blog, just on the WordPress site, is the fresh out of the box WordPress. Okay, there it is. Now you can see all of my plugins. I don't have that plugin available for me yet, but if I refresh this page, you will see now I've got read email, a plugin to read emails, version 1 by Anthony Brunson, visit plugin site. So this is what we were able to manipulate with the commented out tags at the entry point. Then we're just going to activate it. Once we activate this, let's start by taking a look at the pages. Notice there's a page here called read email. That page was just now created with the plugin, so that saves time, right? Now let's open this. All right, you see where it says re-tac main page? That was automatically put in there by the plugin. So now if I refresh this page, you can see I've got read email, a plugin to read emails at the bottom, and then here if I visit this page, it says this was set in the controller. That's it. That is a plugin that does exactly what we asked it to do. And again, you can change this to say whatever you want inside of the view. If I go to, say, the view, RE main page, right here, and I say return all of this, and then I say plus div blah, p blah np ndiv or whatever, that's going to return out to this page just the way this model get data did. All right, so that ends the video, and I hope you liked it. Go ahead and comment, subscribe. If you'd like to learn something, please let me know, and I will do my best to teach. Thanks, bye.